And we're live. First people already joined. Welcome, everyone. We're just gonna wait a bit for everybody to join. Please already share your location in the comments. Curious to see where everybody's joining from. And then we have a quite international crowd today. So please share your location. Amsterdam. Sheffield, North Yorkshire, The Hague, Dublin Ireland, Rotterdam, Exeter, London, Northwest, Buckinghamshire, if I pronounced it correctly. Otherwise, I need some help from Lorraine and Graham.
Very well done.
Brussels. We also have Flevoland, the Netherlands, Amsterdam, the northeast of the UK, Northwest, Glasgow, Groningen, Utrecht as well.
I like you said Glasgow.
Glasgow. Okay, I think we can kick it off. Welcome back, everyone. Great to have you here for our first webinar after the summer break. Really missed these sessions, and we're excited to kick off our new series with a topic that's very close to the heart of every bid team, the strategic rebid. How to defend, differentiate, and win must-keep deals. And we're thrilled to have Graham and Lorraine with us, both directors at Strategic Proposals UK, and each with over 20 years of experience helping teams win and retain critical deals. Welcome, Lorraine and Graham, and looking forward to what we'll share with us today. To everybody listening, feel free to drop any of your questions in the comments. We will have a Q&A at the end. If it's something that is very pressing in a moment, I will quickly ask Lorraine and Graham to answer the question on the spot. But otherwise, just drop them in and we'll make sure to answer them at the end. And then without further ado, I'll give the word to Lorraine.
Cool. Thank you. Well, and I'll hand to Graham.
And I'll hand back to Lorraine. No, listen, welcome everybody. Thanks very much for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us on this webinar. We're really happy to be here, and thanks Altura for inviting us along and setting it all up. We're really honored to be here. So yeah, I'm Graham Albett, Director of Strategic Proposals, or SP as we sometimes call it in the UK. A little bit about me. I've been in and around bidding and proposals for, I mean, I counted it the other day, over sort of more close to 30 years even. I've been working with teams to help them win more over all of that period of time. How? Well, like most of you, lots of different ways, from last minute expert reviews, trying to help teams to eke out extra scores in their customer evaluations, through to running multi-year training programs for bid and proposal, sales and subject matter experts, and all the different things in between in how we help people. But when it comes to rebids, if I had £1 for every time somebody said on a rebid that's ours to lose, then I would be doing this webinar from my own yacht in the Mediterranean. And you can't tell if I am or if I'm not, but I'll let you guess whether I am or I'm not.
And I'm Lorraine Baird. I'm also a director with Strategic Proposals, and I've been in bidding for a bit less because I'm a lot younger than Graham. About 20 years, helping teams across industries, financial services, construction, infrastructure, utilities, to win work and build confidence doing it. And that's from complex rebids to competitive captures, supporting sales, BD, delivery teams, execs, and proposal professionals as well, turning knowledge into strategy. So if your team has ever said, we've got this, it's just a renewal, then that's exactly the kind of deal that we are here to talk about.
So if your last rebid felt very familiar, or maybe rushed, or maybe risky, then maybe you're not alone. Now, before we get into the presentation in more detail, let's take a quick pulse check, if we might, with you guys, just to see how maybe your last rebid went. So if you wouldn't mind just dropping your comments into the chat, just anything you want. We won't judge you. We've seen it all. Go ahead and just drop a couple of words or phrases into the chat that sum up how your last rebid went, and we'll pick up on that. So just drop into the chat. Matthias, you might need to shout out a couple of the things that you're seeing.
Oh, I see them popping up. Rushed and risky.
Question mark and exclamation mark. Yeah, for Vanessa. What else are we having? Ooh. Blindsided by operations. Sounds painful.
Oh.
Chaotic but scored really well. So maybe getting the result, but maybe could have been a bit of an easier path to that. Hope you won that one, Dawn. Thanks. Any other comments? Slow and lumpy. Slow and lumpy. Wow. Yeah. All hands on deck, but we won. So a lot of success going on there, but maybe a little bit painful. Maybe a switch of strategy there.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Right.
Very interesting. Relatively smoothly. Oh, and prepared as it was guaranteed. Yes, Peter, we've definitely heard those words. I'm sure you'll all, be able to reflect on what others have added, and you'll have seen it. Oh dear, ops as well. Intense and stressful. Oh gosh. So I'm sure you'll all relate to probably what everybody's posting as comments there. We've all seen it. We've all done it. And no matter how long you've worked with a customer or how strong your delivery team has been, a rebid can still surprise you. Because here's the thing, rebids feel safe. And a few of you have put that in the comment there, but that's exactly what makes them risky. So before we get into models and strategies, let's zoom out a bit and talk about why this really matters and why now. Because if we don't shift our mindset around rebids, we risk losing work that we've already earned.
And as Lorraine said, rebids are really should be or are supposed to be the easier ones, right? You know the customer, you've been delivering the work, you're the incumbent, but maybe that's the problem. That sense of security kind of creeps in, and that's the dangerous part. We feel safe and secure because we already know the customer. We know what it's like to deliver the work. So while maybe the team who are delivering is assuming the renewal is locked in, why would they possibly get rid of us? Your challenges, your competitors will be treating it like a must-win pursuit. So there's a different sensation, isn't it? They're going to be sharper. They're going to be really hungry. They might already be whispering in your client's ear. And that's when this horrible ailment we see, incumbentitis, which isn't the easiest thing to say, but that's the painful thing that can kick in here. What happens? What does incumbentitis mean? It means you start skipping over some of the strategy work you do. You maybe just reuse some old content or perhaps the standard content you've got in your bid library. You assume that the delivery you've been doing stands up on its own and speaks for itself. And that's when someone says, oh, this is ours to lose. And when you hear that phrase, that should be a cue for you to pause and think, well, what specifically have we done to deserve winning this deal again? Because if your only answer is, well, we're the incumbent, then you may well be already behind the competition. Rebids don't reward autopilot, right? They reward intention.
And I've got a story that reflects that. A £500 million, £500 million renewal. financial services contract. A client of ours had an absolutely brilliant relationship with the customer. They loved them. So they partnered for 20 years, but they were feeling and they were getting the messages back from their customer that they'd been lacking in innovation and in particular a strong digital solution over the past years. But the customer was sending them positive signals leading up to the bid. They had fantastic feedback on their proposal and pitch and subsequent stages that we supported with. They were down to the final two. Everything was looking good. And you've probably already guessed it, but they lost. And you can guess what they lost on. Lack of innovation and lack of a proven, robust digital solution to take them into the future. The fact that their solution wasn't live, that they were telling a story about. The competitors, well, they had an extremely strong solution that was proven and already getting results. And what's even worse is the customer loved our client. But what happened is because of the contract in the UK, all of the people went with the contract. So the competitor inherited all those lovely people that end customer liked. So they should have planned for this, is the story there. They should have entered that rebid with full intention, as Graham has said. And here's what often gets missed. Rebids aren't lost because of pricing, page count, or proposal polish. They're lost because the teams didn't realise they were in a fight until it was already over.
Cool. So look, here's the sort of journey we're going to take you on during the session to help you maybe have a rethink or pat yourself on the back that you're doing your rebids in the right way. First off, we're going to help you to spot the signs that a rebid might be more vulnerable than it seems, because sometimes if it's easy to miss those early signs. Then we're going to share how to reposition your offer strategically, whether there's an RFP on the table yet or it's coming. And then we're going to look at how to message your value. So in a way that doesn't just report what you've done, KPIs, all green on the dashboard, but that's going to resonate with your evaluators and the stakeholders for the rebid.
And then we're going to show you how to drive true team alignment, because rebids are cross-functional even when the pressure lands on the proposal team. You'll leave with ideas on tools, templates, and some tactics that you can use on your next opportunity. And we'll close with some practical Q&As from yourselves. So it'd be good to hear your thorniest rebid scenarios, and we'll tackle them head on. So please feel free to drop those questions into the chat and we'll come back to them at the end.
Okay, let's get into that first topic about spotting the risk. So let's kind of shine a light on that area. And I want to introduce you to this Indiana Jones style pyramid of Rebid Doom. Okay, it's going to show you in a second how strong incumbents, even the strong incumbents, can slip, sometimes slowly, sometimes suddenly, and lose what they thought was a safe contract. So you can use this model to assess, firstly, if you've got the right rebid strategy, or maybe to test if your rebid is heading in the wrong way. So let's just build this out for you. We'll walk through it. At the very, very top of the pyramid, you renew, but without a competitive bid. This is the dream. So you've got better terms, maybe for a longer period, but this isn't luck. This is what's been earned through long-term strategy, value building, and very proactive customer engagement with this end in mind. That's your goal, right? If you could get that every time, it'd be perfect. Next one down the list, you can see which way this is going, is retention. So still no RFP, but you're holding steady on the terms that you've got. You've retained it. Sense of relief, you've retained something that's familiar, but you're not necessarily growing it. And all the time you've got competitors waiting in the wings, watching for signs of complacency and perhaps for you to slip up. Third level down, we kind of maybe start to wobble a little bit here, an extension. Okay, so it gives you more time, but you've normally had to give something away for this. So you normally had to pay for this. So maybe there's some sort of cost. Maybe you've had to reduce your margins or certainly not put up your price. You feel a little bit less confident. There's a bit more uncertainty around it. Perhaps you're feeling a little bit squeezed by the customer, but at least you've still got it for a short amount of time. Next up, planned rebid. So you know that it's going to go to market. You couldn't do any of the things above, but you've been really proactive. You influenced the shape of the deal, and you've built momentum before that RFP drops into somebody's lap.
So I'm doing the contrast. I'm heading towards the doom. You can see where I'm going now. So contrast that with this next tier. So where you win, but only just. So you waited for the RFP, perhaps. You relied on your history. You responded instead of leading. And it's a win, but it's a pretty risky way of getting there. Next, you lose. So the RFP came, but someone else took it more seriously. They were fresher, sharper, better prepared to show value. Worse, hopefully none of you in this scenario, you get kicked out before the bid even begins. Another supplier has been working behind the scenes. The customer doesn't call or doesn't take your call. There's no second chance. And finally, maybe, and sometimes this is the right decision, walk away. But it should be your decision, not something that's forced on you. It could be a surprise or a slow reaction. The competitor's been influencing your customer.
So you can see the further you go down the pyramid of doom, and the further you go down, the harder it is to climb back up. And when you're in those middle tiers, that's really the danger zone where you can get complacent. You lose your footing, slip up. And if you're somewhere in that space in the middle, that's where your intention matters most. Right, Lorraine?
Yeah. So reflect on your next opportunity, your next rebid, and where you think you are here. It will inform discussions. So how then do strong incumbents still lose? So often starts when we're focused on our own performance and we miss what really matters to the customer. So far we've talked about the false sense of safety that rebids create. Now let's look at things from your customer's perspective. So when a contract's up for renewal, they're not just grading your past performance, and that's sometimes what we focus on. They're asking what's next. Are we still getting what we need? Is this still the best team to take us where we need to go?
And that's the decision they're weighing up, right? Do they stick with what they know, or do they see what else is out there? It's not a dramatic pivot. Sometimes it's a quiet buildup of tension where what was once good enough starts to feel like settling for second best for the client.
So staying with the incumbent feels comfortable, it's low friction, predictable. There's a sense of safety in not having to shake things up.
And then there's switching, especially through an RFP. For the client, that feels exciting. I'm acting, I'm changing things. It signals process, brings competition, maybe fresh thinking into the mix.
Staying means less disruption. The team already know the account, processes are in place, there's trust. And if the pricing's favourable, it's an easy story to sell internally.
But going to RFP opens the door for sharper pricing, right? New solutions and the perception of we're doing good due diligence here, especially when procurement or leadership want to market check or bringing in new ideas from the outside.
But safety has a downside. Customers start to worry about complacency, and Graham mentioned earlier on incumbentitis. When it feels like you've stopped evolving, that comfort turns into concern.
Going to RFP carries risk too. You got cost, time, lost momentum. Maybe they've transitioned other vendors in and out. You get fatigued by that. And if the new supplier doesn't live up to the promise, it reflects poorly on the decision maker.
And it's not usually triggered by just one big failure. It's often a combination of small things, a report that's always late, a stakeholder who isn't impressed, or a competitor saying in their ear, you know, we'll do it differently, we'll do it better.
And once that little seed is planted, those fresh shoots always look greener on the other side, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you're not actively shaping their perception of value and relevance, you can bet someone else is. And if you take nothing else from this slide, take that the risk isn't always, you know, what you did wrong or doing wrong. It's perhaps what you didn't notice or didn't respond to. So on the next slide, we'll look at those warning signs, what they really look like, and how to spot them before it's too late.
Okay. Absolutely. Rebids rarely unravel overnight. You know, they're eroding, one quiet change at a time, one missed cue, one signal you might not have, you know, even realized was a signal.
And this is what we refer to as the drift. It's that slow slide from trusted partner to you're just another vendor. Often starts with some common signs like these. Let's walk through a few. So maybe you're doing fewer check-ins with the client, or they're doing fewer check-ins with you rather. They're postponing those quarterly business reviews. You start to hear, oh, let's wait until the contract's up. What does it really mean? What does that really mean? Well, it means maybe the relationship's cooling. Maybe you may not be in the room when future ideas and decisions are getting made and discussed. Maybe new people are starting to join the meetings as well. We've got a new lead on this account. Sounds fine, but maybe that's a sign that your champion has gone, your supporters are gone, and the new stakeholder, they didn't live through all the past wins that you've had, the where you've saved the day for them, where you've got them out of jail, figuratively speaking. So now you're just one of several options, and procurement then steps in, and you hear, we need to ensure competitive due diligence. Translating that, this is heading to tender, guys. And if you haven't shaped the scope yet, you've already lost ground. You've asked for a year's worth of data, okay? Can you summarize the past 12 months? That's not a compliment, it's a review. And if you haven't tied performance to value, it's going to be really hard to defend those numbers as standalone numbers.
Then you spot multiple RFPs being issued in similar areas. And the customer says, we're reviewing this category across the board. That's not a coincidence. It's a strategic sourcing wave, and you are now caught in it unless you start repositioning now. Or suddenly the scope or contract changes. You know, we're restructuring service levels, as it says there. What's really happening? Your window to influence the solution's closing. You're now reacting. You're not the one that's shaping it. The renewal gets delayed, or, you know, we'll extend by 3 months and revisit. That's not a timing issue. It's usually signaling misalignment or fading trust at senior levels. They're exploring elsewhere. Fewer idea requests, if I can say that. No curiosity. That's disengagement talking. And your competitors, they're in there showing up with fresh thinking, and you're coasting perhaps on your old wins. And finally, of course, these dastardly third-party consultants that get involved. You know, we're working with an advisor on this. That's a red flag. They're assessing options behind the scenes, and if you're not in on those conversations, someone else is telling your story.
So as you can see from that that lot, there are several warning signs that might be indicating that your rebid is at risk. You might have seen other ones as well. Your job is to recognize that these signs are popping up early, and crucial once you've recognized them to avoid kind of falling into the traps of just kind of pushing them away or letting them happen. So now let's shift our focus on how we can position ourselves more strategically on the rebid, and that kind of brings us along to our next topic.
Okay, yeah, by planning smarter, not just responding, we can ensure that we stay ahead of the competition and secure our must-keep deals. So let us ask you another question. The question I've got for you is this one. Do you have a defined process for rebids? So simply, it'd be good to see a yes or a no response, and hopefully our lovely Altura colleagues will give us a view on how that's looking. So just a simple yes or no. Do you have a defined process for rebids? I'll do a little count of what we're seeing. What do you think, Matthias? Is it looking more yeses than no's?
Then I see some no's and also some kind of.
You're sitting on the fence, Steve. I saw that.
Yes.
I know, Steve. Do you think I'm picking on someone?
Some for some, maybe some bigger accounts, but not always. I saw that as well. So sometimes, yes.
Okay. Like Matthias is constantly doing a quick count.
I think
you have enough fingers there.
No's seem to be.
I would say 50-50, getting a lot of yeses now again. Maybe slightly to the no side.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's all right. I see Joe saying yes there. Great. Well, okay. So let's compare that. So this is the result from our proposal benchmarker. So this is a free tool on our website, the Strategic Proposals website. If you've not completed it, please go ahead and do so. It's free. It's a questionnaire, and one of the questions was around, do you have a defined process for rebidding? So if there are more no's, and it sounds like we've got more of a 50-50, so we've got more of a strategic bunch on this webinar today. But our results from over 1,100 organizations now show that it errs towards no more commonly. Either way, it's clear that there's a high percentage of organizations that don't, and we're going to share our key steps to successfully prepare for a rebid. So let's take a look at that now. So when working on a rebid, there's several key steps where we can plan smarter to make sure we're fully prepared to be in the best position to retain the customer. I'm going to share some steps here in a moment. They don't all happen one after the other, hence this kind of flow. And we can follow the same steps whether we're faced with a new business opportunity as well. But for now, let's imagine that we're actually 12 months from a rebid. And I'll look at how this changes shortly in when you've got a shorter timeline. All is not lost if you do. So, of course, you need to assemble your team. An early step, sometimes the first, or it could be soon after deciding to pursue. So this is making sure we're focusing our efforts in the right areas, where we have the best chance of retaining the business, and making that pursuit decision. Then we're looking at developing some targeted sales campaigns. So we need to create a plan for engaging the customer that keeps us or moves us towards the top spot for retaining this business, not just taking it by chance. And from there as well, we're also generating that effective engagement plan. If we don't already have a strong plan in place, we need to create one to build on the relationships we have with key people and quickly engage anyone we don't already have a relationship with. And at the same time, we're also looking to convince those buyers, our customer, why they should continue to choose us over competition. So you're building your win strategy. And then we're improving how we're communicating, both verbally and in writing or with any kind of collateral with stories that resonate with the customer, make them memorable, and reinforce our relationship. So this includes price to win as well while we're developing our solution. Now, this is early. Okay, we're shaping the solution ideally with the customer. We're matching it to their ever-evolving needs and communicating the value that it brings. Testing and refining it throughout with the customer and internally, of course. And this is throughout the process to ensure we're in the best position to retain the business, even before that formal competitive process starts. How often have we got to the stage where the formal competitive process is kicking in and we're still figuring out the solution, this time without involving the customer? And of course, moving into familiar territory, creating that compelling proposal, making sure it stands out from the competition, and it's one that the evaluators are actually excited to share in the business. Wouldn't that be nice? Presenting our story in the most compelling and engaging way, and in some cases we see pitching before the proposal or even during the proposal. And we're ensuring our team's ready for a smooth, successful delivery of our messages. Early on, we should also be, while we're figuring out the solution and our price to win, we're preparing and navigating for the negotiation early to successfully reach a win-win conclusion for both us and the customer. Planning smarter and working through these steps will reposition you and keep you ahead of the competition. Now, if we only have, say, 3 months until the rebid's due in, we could follow a light process. And one of our colleagues, our MD in Canada, Kerry Mescal, she referred to this in her recent BQ article for Bid Solutions as an MVC, minimum viable capture. So all's not lost if you only have a few months to go. We can still do capture prep, and it's much more streamlined approach, and it follows kind of pre-proposal planning steps. So let's have a look at those now.
Thanks. Yeah, so that minimum viable capture position really is testing whether you can say yes to each of the steps that I'm going to share with you on this next slide. And remember, these are all things that are happening before the RFP lands on your desk. So if you have a rebid due in a few months and you haven't started that rebid capture process, you can test against these seven areas, these 7 challenges. So if you see one and you can't answer yes, maybe that's where you should be focusing your attention on at the moment. So let's walk through them. Number 1, do you understand your customers' needs clearly moving forwards, and how you can deliver those needs better than the competition? Don't forget that competitive element. Number 2, have you built and maintained strong relationships with all the key stakeholders, not the usual faces and the ones you've known for years, but maybe there are other key stakeholders involved, maybe more people, not the usual suspects. Have you done that? Kick the tires on that. 3, have you developed a compelling value proposition that is aligned to your customers' goals moving forward? Number 4, have you got your plan in place, your detailed project plan in place that is aligned to the timelines for the rebid, or at least the timelines that you know so far for the rebid and the RFP process, but also the contracting period. Have you assembled 5? Have you assembled the team that you need to help you plan and prepare and then put together a winning rebid? The right people with the right skills and expertise and availability to support. Number 6, have you carried out a thorough risk assessment and identified mitigation measures against those problems and those risks that you've identified? And the last one, number 7, have you sourced high quality content that you're pretty much sure that you're going to need to use when you come to writing the response to the RFP and the proposal? 7 challenges, 7 things to think about, and that's your minimal viable capture. As we wrap up on this topic on strategic repositioning, it's clear that planning smarter is not just about planning smarter is key to staying ahead of the competition. Let's move on, let's dive deeper into the next topic, which is creating messaging that is going to score with your customer.
Yeah, so you've repositioned, you've planned, and it's time now to craft future-focused, value-based messaging for each of your touch points.
So let's talk about the message behind your message, because rebids can fall into a familiar trap. You may have seen this. They stay rooted in what was or has been delivered without showing the client, the reader, where things are headed. So what ratio should you be talking to the future versus the past? Is it 50-50? Is it 25 to 75? Is it 90-10? If you had to put a ratio on how much in your proposal you should be talking about what you've done versus what you're going to do, what would that be? Our recommendation as a starting point will be to take that 80-20 rule, where the 20 is reminding them of all the good things you've done in the past. 80% of it is what you're going to do moving forward. Okay. Otherwise, you run the risk of talking about the past too much and not showing them what you're going to do moving forward, and that's what your competitors are going to be doing. Sorry, Lorraine.
Yeah, no, you're right. And from your side, it might feel like you're showing credibility, but if your proposal reads like a closeout report, metrics, milestones, operational achievements, it might feel thorough to you, but to your customer, it might look like you're closing the book and not opening a new chapter.
So let's take this one. Might write something like, we've delivered phase 1 ahead of schedule. Okay, sounds great. But your customer might be thinking, so what? Where's phase 2? The win only matters if you show what you've done, how that unlocks something moving forward. So instead, maybe you should be writing something like, early delivery means phase 2 can now start 3 months earlier. Here's our proposal for that. That's progress that they can act on, building on what you've delivered previously.
Yeah, and another one, we've had a great relationship over the years. So the silent response, well, yeah, sure, but have you evolved with us? It's not enough to prove longevity, you need to show learning. Try something like this. Over our 5-year partnership, we've adapted to 2 restructures and a tech stack shift. We're ready for change. Or positive, forward-looking language.
You might write, we delivered to the scope. That's fine, but that's just compliance, right? That's what's expected. To stand out, you need to show you've added additional insight, not just done what's expected. So something better would be we've delivered to the scope and flagged some process gaps that the team hadn't seen, and here's how we're going to build on that.
Yeah, your goal here isn't just to report on the past, it's to translate it, to move from we did this to here's what it's unlocked and where we go to next. And that's what elevates your proposal from a performance review to a strategic renewal.
Yeah, I guess one caveat there, if you suddenly fill the proposal with bold new promises, and some of you might be thinking about that, the risk is your customer goes, well, if this is all possible now, why aren't you doing it already, or why didn't you do it last year? And I think this is about transparency, about trying to anchor the new ideas to maybe what's changed, even if it's subtle. So you've got new insights, maybe there's slightly changed requirements from the customer, their needs have shifted slightly, and the rebid is the opportunity to align, to refresh that alignment. And that's what builds credibility here and that future-focused positioning.
But reframing your message isn't just about better phrasing, it's about deeper relevance. And to do that, you need to understand the value your customer is actually looking for. And it's not always obvious, because value isn't one thing. It's layered, political, sometimes unstated. So we're going to look at a framework that helps decode that. So we're talking value. In rebids, it's not enough to show what you've delivered and what you will deliver. You need to show why it matters, to who and how. And we use a simple framework with 3 types of value that your messaging should reflect. We're going to look at these now.
Yeah, the first one to look at is stakeholder value. And that's the day-to-day impact that your service and solution is having on users, the sponsors, the internal champions. Are you making their life easier, smoother, more rewarding? And you can see this is where maybe some emotional loyalty starts to get earned. One example we've seen work well is user research and using personas as well. In a recent healthcare tech bid we worked on, personas were used to help the team show how their solution improved access, handoffs, and experience within the customer, all through the lens of real service users.
Yeah. And the next layer is organizational value. So especially important for senior decision makers. So this isn't just shareholder value in the financial sense. For private companies, it might be growth or innovation. And for public sector customers, it's maybe about customer outcomes or system-wide impact. So results to strategic priorities. This cuts wait time by 40%, or this supported your net zero targets. That's what gets senior execs on site.
Yeah, absolutely. The final layer, perceived value, often overlooked. But in a really competitive market, this just might make the difference. So, if your solution is similar to others, how does it feel to actually work with you guys? That could be the difference. So are you really responsive, really proactive, collaborative? How does the client describe you when they're talking to colleagues? You didn't just deliver for us, you made us feel looked after. That's perceived value. So where are you at with that?
Yeah. And the best rebids land on all 3 levels of value: stakeholder, organizational, and perceived. But that only happens when you've done the groundwork, because value isn't just something you state, it's something you earn. And to earn it, you need to show that you understand what's changed. So start here. Who's in the room now, and what are they carrying into this decision? So it could be a new leadership with different priorities. It could have been a merger or acquisition that's shifted the organization's direction. Budget constraints, perhaps, a board pushing cost control, or a new pain point that's become the priority fast. Your messaging has to reflect their current world, not just the one that you delivered in last year. And then ask, what's the competitive context? Not just who are the usual suspects, but who's emerging? Who might put in a disruptive bid? Who might pitch as teaming partners? And crucially, what's the narrative they're bringing to your customers? If your story doesn't account for that, it won't feel urgent or unique. And that's when customers start to look elsewhere. Not because you failed, it's because someone else feels more in tune.
Yeah, so we've got to, rebids are all about building and creating that value. But it's not always something you can just simply insert into a proposal, right? It's something that you build and signal earlier in the process in touch points long before the RFP. Which brings us to the next piece. When and where you articulate that value, it's just as important as what you say. So if we zoom out a minute, because of course rebids aren't one in the proposal alone, they're one in the story you've been telling, intentionally or not, since the day you won the last contract.
Okay, when you're the incumbent, everything your customer sees, hears, and feels from you contributes to the renewal decision. The pitch starts before the RFP, and if you're smart, it keeps going after the win. So let's look at rebids as a campaign, not just a moment.
And this is your opportunity window. No brief, no deadline, just your chance to influence the customer's perception when they're informally deciding whether you're still the right fit. And that's where strategic deliverables can do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. This is where bid and proposal people can really support delivery teams. I mean, things like executive brochures. They can be used to reframe your performance and preview what's next in a format that decision makers will actually read rather than some report and charts and bar charts and stuff like that. What else? Value reports. So translating what you're delivering into the impact, not just what you've achieved, your SLAs and your KPIs, but why it really matters and what's next. And then other things like thought leadership, social media, events, PR, they all keep you visible, credible, and connected to the client. So the goal with all that stuff, stay ahead of the RFP. And if you're not shaping the story early, the risk is your competitors will be.
Yeah. And now we're in the formal race, so we're in the RFP. But if you've done your pre-work, you're not starting from scratch, of course. And your message here isn't just about proving the past, it's about owning the future. So use multimedia to humanize your offer. Show the people behind the performance. Make your proposal and pitch sound like a natural continuation of everything the customer's already seen and heard from you. And bring workshop collateral like journey maps that you can see there at the top. It helps your customer imagine the journey ahead with you leading it. This is where your rebids either look like reruns or like reinvention.
Absolutely. Let's fast forward a little bit. The mistake we see with a lot of teams is after you've done the hard work and won the bid, you go quiet. Okay, or it's thrown over the fence to delivery and it's somebody else's responsibility. But in reality, right, the next renewal campaign starts now. Start with a win review or a debrief with the client. Then think about a new value report that sets clear expectations, shows you're already tracking impact in the new contract. Don't wait for a formal RFP to share new ideas and thoughts. Drop a birthday proposal into the client on the anniversary of your win, saying what's next and shining a light on your new ideas. And invest in customer listening. Ask what's changed, what's next, how you can help them get there. The goal with all of that is just never leaving a vacuum and getting stuck in the silo of just thinking about delivery. Make sure you've still got a voice in the room before they ask the question.
But there's a catch. Even the most strategic deliverables can fall flat if the people delivering them aren't aligned. So if your customer talks to delivery, then account management, then maybe proposals and BD, and they each tell a different version of what's next, that's where trust erodes, and that's where doubt can creep in. So in this next section, we'll look at how to get your team pulling in the same direction. And each function brings something essential to the rebid. Sales has the competitive lens. Delivery knows what's actually possible. Account managers understand the politics and personalities. And then you've got your SMEs who bring credibility and detail. And of course, leadership, who can set the tone and vision for you.
And here's where it can go wrong, because that all sounds great. It's when those teams work in silos, and you get inconsistencies or gaps, conflicts in communication, and that can really quickly erode customer confidence. But when those voices are all aligned, you get messaging that's strategic, grounded, and credible. Not just we can do this, but we've thought this through together. And if you want every part of your team pulling in the same direction, you need a single shared message, right? And this model, think about this model. It's a really good one, developed in the 90s. It's called the Message House. It's a tool for structuring efficient communication and developing a consistent brand strategy. So imagine a house. Imagine that the roof is your umbrella statement. The why you're the right partner for the customer. Take your walls. Your walls are your messaging pillars. These are tailored for the different stakeholder groups that you're talking to, but they're rooted in shared truths. The foundation, that's your proof, that's your evidence. It's your case studies, your metrics, your customer feedback, and your delivery results that support all the messages that you're saying. That's the power of this, of having a strong messaging house. You're not guessing what to say, you're choosing the right way to say it. In rebids, your customer is watching for signs of that cohesion across every interaction they're having with you. Or maybe more so, they might be looking for some of the cracks that might be forming in those foundations. So we help teams embed alignment into daily practice, i.e. customer interactions during delivery, in more formal meetings, in KPI reporting, etc. And to do that, you've got to start with a Rebid team charter, a shared commitment to strategy, collaboration, and customer-centered decision-making. Then there's the one voice briefing, a cheat sheet of keywords and phrases to use for anybody facing off to the customer, and the things to avoid as well.
And if you want a gut check on the message itself, bring in a strategic reviewer, someone outside the core pursuit team, but inside your organization. And they'll help catch any lack of consistency you're too close to see.
Yeah.
And of course, alignment isn't just prep, it's practice. Rehearse the unrehearsed, those everyday touch points where the real story is told. And finally, listen. So record any key customer sessions, any really key team discussions to hear what's landing, what's not. And to finish, we want to leave you with some ideas of tools, templates, and tactics that you can take back to your teams. So we've grouped them into 3 categories. First, what's internal, your own capabilities and readiness. So in addition to the Rebid team charter and the message house that Graham's just talked about, you've got CRM tools to track pipeline, interactions, and handoffs. It's so important, especially in multi-year contracts. Try a pre-mortem, have a session with your team and ask yourselves, why did we lose?
Then let's flip to the external, which is much more focused on the customer. You've got customer contact plan, mapping who you need to influence and how. You've got organization and stakeholder mapping, surfacing buying centers, blockers, champions. Then you've got tools like LinkedIn Sales Navigator to help you find kind of warm paths into people you perhaps don't have connections with. You've got Crystal Knows, a great tool that helps tailor your messaging to different personalities. Quite clever if you've not played that before. And then using AI note takers to help your team to capture all the nuances from every meeting. Some like Fireflies actually also conducts sentiment analysis as well as just capturing the words.
And finally, what's competitive? Your rivals in the race. And of course, a bidder's comparison matrix helps you map how you stack up. There's platforms as well like Clue with a K and Crayon that give you real-time intel on competitor messaging, partnerships, and pricing shifts. Deep research takes it further. That's a tool that helps you monitor mergers and acquisition activity, new entrants, and market disruption. And even some of the more traditional templates, they no longer have to live in Microsoft PowerPoint or Word. Shift to tools like Planner, Forms, or Lists, or more visual options like Whiteboard, Miro, or Mural. Here's a little bonus. We're going to give you a Rebid risk radar checklist. So you'll get this via whichever means Altura will put this out to you, but it'll help you check in on your must-keep deals before the RFP lands, and it's designed to be quick, clear, and actionable. So use it regularly, and the sooner you ask, the more control you'll have.
Great, thanks, Lorraine. So let's just try and wrap all that up in 5 shifts that can change how your team shows up on every rebid. Number 1, familiar doesn't mean secure. Comfort leads to assumption. Assumption costs wins. 2, reposition before the RFP. Your pursuit starts earlier than you think. 3, evolve your message. Make it about what comes next, not just what's being delivered. 4 is align your teams, so strategy doesn't scale if it's siloed. And number 5, build rebid discipline, particularly those of you who don't have a rebid process, because winning consistently shouldn't depend on a scramble at the end.
Okay, so we'd love to hear from you, and we appreciate we've not left you much time to do that. However, we can answer things after. So what questions do you have about applying this in your team, your pipeline, your next must win?
Yeah, I already have some stored questions throughout. We got some great questions already, also some great comments that were shared. You haven't seen any of these, of course, yet. So let's start with the first question that we got from Rachel. I'll put it up in the screen. This was early on in the...
Yeah, we probably covered a little bit of that towards the end. I think doing some mapping of the customer, the individuals at the customer, the stakeholders there, thinking about how you get a real sense check from them on how they feel about how you've delivered in the past. What are their drivers, hot buttons moving forward, so we get a clear view of that. And then in discussions with the client, trying to show them how you can help them address some of those hot buttons moving forward. And I would think that would be through maybe some subtle suggestions of ideas to maybe develop the service moving forward, offering subject matter experts to give up some of their time to have some workshops with the client early enough so it's not obvious that it's because there's a new RFP coming. But something like that would be a practical way to maybe start to shape and influence the requirements moving forwards.
Great. I got another question from Steve. Steve Senian, and also a comment on that by another Steve. I'll first show the question, and then after we've all read it, I'll also share the comment that we can maybe take along as well.
CAM being key account management.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean...
I'll put up also the comment of Steve on that. Another Steve.
Ops, and they're focused on an easy life. I know. Yeah, there's a balance, isn't there? That you need to be aligned internally, and work out that strategy together. And it won't be easy, and people will have differing opinions on what they want from that client relationship moving forward. But I mean, it needs to be owned overall by the key account owners and their senior leadership to challenge internally, because yes, ops may want an easy life, pricing may want everything thrown in, but the sales and business development account managers bring what they need to do to win it, that knowledge of what the competitor are going to offer. So you absolutely need to be aligned, and you can only climb up that pyramid of doom by being aligned. It just won't work otherwise.
It needs to be integrated.
And I was thinking of one of a scenario. Yeah.
Sorry, Lorraine. I was just saying,
it needs to
be integrated. The CAM process and the pyramid of doom need to be integrated. There should be one and the same thing. And if they're not, then you've got a bigger risk of losing the rebid. So there shouldn't be kind of siloed things. There should be interlaced, I think. Sorry.
And I was trying to think of one where it was good and still lost, but I think the key thing is here is if you've got one in mind, Steve, and anyone else, it's you need to have the honest conversations with the client. You could think you're doing a brilliant process and your client's on a completely different trajectory because competitors are in there speaking to them. So they'll still be nice to you and telling you nice things, but they'll be getting different stories from the competitors. So you need to test things with the client, all of the buyers, not just one.
I can think of an example, Lorraine, where I was working with a client and there was a rebid coming up, but it was left late, and there'd been some good key account management activity going on there, but there'd also been a good bit of sticking your head into the sand and ignoring what was going on. And what the client was doing was they were merging two things together, and my client only had the sort of smaller piece of the pie. Yeah. And they were very focused on delivering that bit really well and ignoring the fact that actually this other competitor was in a much better position. And then, of course, by the time that we had the first rebid conversation, there was just a few weeks to go before the RFP came out, and everything had been influenced. So they lost that one. And to be honest, after the first meeting, everybody in the room realized they were going to lose it because they were just too late to the table to influence the customer.
I see there is just one more very easy answer, easy question up there. That's will these helpful slides be made available? We were also looking at time. We will, of course, share this recording, the slides, and the amazing checklist that you both talked about previously. And I think that also sums up all of the other comments in the chat coming in, basically saying thanks a lot for such an amazing and helpful webinar. And with that, and also I want to thank you both, Lorraine and Graham, for hosting this and giving us these wonderful insights today. For everybody listening, I see there are still quite some people in the room. If you enjoyed this session, we are also going to do a nice lunch and learn in London on the 9th of October. We will share the link in the comment as well. But also keep your eye out on our event page for more of these sessions, webinars, and also live events. Thank you so much, Lorraine and Graham. Thanks again, and see you later.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for hosting us. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.